Terrion. Hey, congratulations. Hey, we're excited to have you. You come in here and compete. Help us out. You know what I mean? All right, brother. We're fired up. Hey.
Thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And then after that, just thank you to Miss Sheila Hemp, Brad Holmes, and Coach Campbell for just believing in me, trading up to get me. Like, I don't take that lightly. It's a sacrifice that they made, and I feel like I'm going to reward them for that.
Welcome on in, Detroit Lions fans. I want to say congratulations on the draft. You guys setting the record, most attendees at an NFL draft. It looks like you guys really opened up, the downtown part of Detroit, the city, to make it spacious enough. It looks like a lot of you guys were squeezed in, packed up, but go ahead and let me know in the comments if you're one of those Detroit people that went to the draft, or if you did some traveling and you went to the draft. I would love to see who made that trip. I would also like to talk about the additions that you guys put into Detroit with this draft. I think the most important thing that I received from this draft with Detroit is the message, what you guys are truly trying to say to the world. And you started out with what happened in free agency. Guys, I have to just ramble off a few legitimate players' names real quick that are in Detroit Lions uniforms. You guys got edge Marcus Davenport for a year. You guys got cornerback Amik Robertson, who I think is just so versatile. He and Brian Branch are going to be able to play off each other so well. You got DJ Reader, former Bengals interior defensive lineman, someone who I love and respect his game so freaking much. You have Kevin Zeitler, guard, also a former Bengal, but long time ago. Still big, still strong, and last year he was an all-pro kind of guy. So, and then you guys got Carlton Davis, who is, if you ask, Jamar Chase, one of the best receivers in the National Football League, who has been his toughest challenge in the NFL, he's going to say Carlton Davis, cornerback that used to be for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, currently on the Detroit Lions. Every single year when you see a successful team do something successful, you tend to ask them, next year, what's going to be their message? Next year, what are they going to be about? And usually they try to be modest. They try to be, not show all their cards up front. And they want to put on the facade like one game at a time, or, we'll see when the game gets here. We'll see when that time comes. I genuinely believe what the Detroit Lions have shown with this free agency pool and these draftees that have been added to the roster, it's Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl only. I don't think the Detroit Lions are going to be satisfied whatsoever if it's another Cinderella story playoff push. If it's another beautiful, oh my gosh, everyone's dotting the Lions. The Lions aren't actually back. Oh wow, they beat this team. Beautiful story. The chants that were going on during that draft of Jared Goff. It was just these chants that were loud and they were proud in the city of Detroit. And you only get that emotion if a Super Bowl is what's ringing in your heart, ringing in your brain. And it just looks like the front office, they're very much in that same boat. You see a lot of times where teams make crazy pushes and teams make huge leaps to get into the NFC Championship game. And then that next year, they have this approach of, we have everything we need. We got these players back. It's the scheme, not the players. It's the coaching staff, not the players. We got all the coaches back. We actually lost our offensive coordinator. Y'all didn't. We actually lost this quarterback or this running back. Y'all didn't. Like, the successful teams lose important players and then they just think they could just replace them. The Detroit Lions, you guys had a few exits, but the additions are plentiful. Very, very plentiful. And like I said, actions speak way louder than words. You guys won a Super Bowl championship this year. I mean, think about it. I mean, I'm not going to say who cares, but are you guys really going to be in an emotionally stable position if you guys kind of just do the same thing last year? You guys went all the way to the NFC Championship, and everybody was kind of banking on you guys making it all the way to the big dance. I mean, next year, if you guys just make it to the wild card because you didn't bring in these players because you hey, we got everything, we're good, or you don't really take that draft process very seriously, but we're about to get to those players, you did. And so, yes, the message is clear as day. We won a championship. We are not satisfied with anything less than a championship. Yes, we're the Detroit Lions with a really bad history, but we do not care about beating the big teams and the best teams on the brightest stages. We don't care about that anymore. We've had it, we tried it, we loved it. We want the main course, right? We want the championship. So that's beautiful to see with the Detroit fan base, and the executive and the players seem like they are all on the same page. So you love to see that. Let's get into these picks. Let's get into these players that are now in the facilities. First off, one of my favorite, just people, right? The talent is lit, talent is awesome, but when you just listen to just people, these men speak and talk, it breathes life into you, man. Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama, who you guys have added to that secondary. You know, I can't watch every Lions game. I can 100% watch every Terrion Arnold interview. My God, does that guy get me ready? Does that guy not show you up front what he is all about? And that's business. That's getting better. He says, you know, at Alabama, his favorite thing was getting coached hard. Like, you know, he loves getting coached hard. And so you have Dan Campbell, who's a player's coach, and, you know, he was just going on and on how, you know, Detroit was the best fit, and how he was upset because when Alabama lost to Michigan, he didn't like the state of Michigan very much, but he said he's over it beautifully. And you could just see from the press conference introductory interview, he is bleeding blue already, and he's so technically sound. And I think the reason why he fails because he's not a super extreme athlete, but when you think about it, with the size and the abilities and the gifts that he has, he's so technical. You don't need that breakaway speed. He's already in this way of comfortability of preparation and his technique, and he's fast and athletic enough. And I am just so excited to see how, honestly, the defensive line is going to make this kid look so great in year one. And I want to go on and on about Terrion. We will at some point, maybe later on, but I do want to get into Ennis Rakestraw Jr. I am not saying he's very similar to Terrion Arnold, but he is very similar to Terrion Arnold. I mean, he's a great communicator pre-snap. He's always pointing around and just really having a crazy good dialogue pre-snap. He also doesn't have this crazy catch-up top-end speed. At least it really doesn't show in the field. But he has a knack to always be in the right spot at the right time. This kid is a technician. This kid is very, very prepared. And he doesn't get beat too often to where, yeah, the top-end speed, it doesn't even show too often because he's usually always in a good position to just be calm and collected. And it looks like he is always in control of the situation, whether it be a jump ball, or whether it be he's at the hip pocket, but just a little bit behind. A lot of times corners want to panic, get a little grabby, but not him. I actually really, really like Ennis Rakestraw 100%. If the Bengals got him, you know, I was going to be very, very happy with him. But, you know, he's not a very strong run defender, but he's willing to get physical. Reliable when funneling ball carriers to the sideline, things like that. He's very strategic of how he plays the game of football. He creates less space for wide receivers. He smothers them. And so, and he has very quick feet. You know, he may not have the top end speed, but the feet are there. And so he's really good at some players using the field, using the boundaries, using the scheme. And so I really love that for him. And then the last dude I really want to jump in to, pause on that one, is Sione Vaki, the Utah running back. Everything that Dan Campbell does, it's to prove a point. Prove a point of physicality, to prove a point of toughness. And this kid, Sione, that's what he's got. That's what he has. He's a physical. He does have the top end speed. He's very much like a David Montgomery kind of feel to it. I think David might have this year and maybe next year, and then he's a free agent. So for Vak to kind of learn from him, I think they're very similar in their styles, and see how he moves, see how he operates as the starting running back. Jahmyr Gibbs maybe takes over the role next year, but you still have that lightning and thunder, yin and yang approach in the backfield with the speed never dropping off. I think that's just a long-term solution that's just going to be beautiful for the organization. Detroit, you guys are doing it. You're being consistent, and you're done with just being a Cinderella story, because at the end of the day, a Cinderella story, it's always like a slight insult, right? And so you guys don't want that notion anymore. You don't want that feeling anymore. You want to be taken as a legitimate team. You want to see if you lose the NFC Championship, you want the world to kind of say you're a bust, that you're failing. you don't want to lose an NFC Championship game and the whole world be proud of you, right? Because if the whole world's proud of you that you lost the NFC Championship game, that means no one believed in you. So let me know what you guys think on the haul. Let me know what you guys think on the season, the approach, and how everything's going. Like, comment, and subscribe.